As you know, there are 5 pillars of Islam. 5 pillars of Islam, which is mentioned in your book. When you're on the chapter 4 that starts with faith, there are 5 pillars of Islam that, according to the Islamic theology, all the Muslims must perform all those 5 faiths, pillars of Islam. That's a requirement to be a Muslim. All right. So 5 pillars. Don't forget this. This is very, very important. Okay. So in order to be Muslim, first you need to give the profession of faith, so which is Shahada. So the word Shahada is the declaration of faith when a person, if that person wants to be a Muslim, must proclaim from his mouth phonetically and testify that with his heart that there is no God but God, or Allah. So there is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. So once a person proclaims this word, the Shahada, then he or she becomes Muslim. All right, this is the first pillar of Islam. So in Islam there is a belief system which is shirk, which is polytheism, when the people accept other gods than God. And then you must proclaim, according to the Islamic faith, that Muhammad is the messenger of God. In order to accept all his teachings, or we can call supposedly teachings, because if Muhammad was sent by God, then the religion of God must be lived according to what his messenger explained to his people. All right, that's why Islam requires to every person that wants to become Muslim to proclaim that there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. All right. So your book mentions that as the oneness of God, which is in Islam called Tawheed, and it is very, very pretty much the same thing in the concept of God in Judaism. When Moses received the God's commandment, "Thou shalt not have other gods before me," Exodus 23, which is mentioned in your book as well. So the Quran rejects all the possibilities to be another God beside God the Father. I explained this in the video before. All right. So that is the first part. So what would be a challenge to this? You might ask that question, because I mentioned that we're going to cover the holistic point of view. So we have, there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger. But there are things that the current Islamic movement, which is called Quranism, mentions that even the very declaration of faith of the current Islamic faith is a shirk, or is a polytheistic religion, is a blasphemy according to this point of view. Why is so? So they explain this is a new movement that started, that have empowered 20 years ago, and now it's becoming more popular within the Muslim community. They are saying that, remember, we the Islamic sources are the Quran and the Hadith books. We covered that before. So the Quran, according to the Quran, is God's revelation, and we have other books which are books that belongs to Prophet's teachings that have been written at least 230 years after Muhammad's death. And those books, Hadith books, explain how to read the Quran, how to understand the Quran, how to understand the Islamic religion. So, the declaration of faith is not in the Quran, actually. So what we have in the Quran, this particular verse, which is the chapter 3, verse number 18, it says, Allah, God, witnesses that there is no deity except Him, and the angel and those of knowledge, maintaining injustice. So, there is no deity except Him, the exalted in might, the wise. So this is the only verse in the Quran which is a proclamation of faith by God. God is witness that there is no deity except Him, and His angels and those of knowledge. So the people that know, what they say, that there is no deity except Him. And this particular verse doesn't include that Muhammad is the messenger of God. So this is a declaration of faith according to this verse, and when a person testifies the monotheism of God, and there is no mention about Muhammad's Muhammad role in the religion. And there is another verse in the Quran which is completely in contradiction to say that Muhammad is the messenger of God. To say Muhammad's name near God's name, according to this verse that I'm going to read right now, it's a blasphemy. And it says, and when God is mentioned alone, the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter shrink with aversion. But when those other than Him are mentioned, immediately they rejoice. This verse, according to this new Quranic movement, the declaration of faith must be only to accept the oneness of God, and any other name is a blasphemy according to the Quran. And the support of this is this particular verse in the Quran, which is chapter 39 and verse number 45. So according to this point of view, according to the Quranic theology, let's say, the declaration of faith, the Islamic faith, actually is a blasphemy, and the only declaration of faith is the acceptance of God and nothing else. We're going to see what would be the reason of that particular point of view next. But let's put a period here, and let's continue, because you're going to understand the reason the Islamic faith requires to his followers to make that declaration that there is no God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. There is a reason, a particular reasoning to do so. So now we have the declaration, the first pillar of Islam, which is the declaration of faith. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger. The first pillar of 5 pillars of Islam, which is challenged in the Quran as the declaration of faith, only there is no God but God. Okay, let's move. So I want you to read all these pages until the page number 113. So now we're going to start with the second pillar of Islam, which is Salat. Salat, that traditionally translated as the prayer. Salat, prayer. I'm going to put a video in order for you to see how the Islamic prayer is. I think you already know, but there are some rituals like prostration, inclination, and standing towards the Kaaba. So there is a ritual which must be repeated 5 times a day by all Muslims, let's say by all Sunni Muslims, and 3 times a day for all Shia Muslims, because the Islamic world has 2 different schools, Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. Alright, so the Sunni Islam says the second pillar of Islam, which is Salat, prayer, must be 5 times a day, and Shia Islam says that the second pillar of Islam, prayer, must be 3 times a day. Alright? Good. So they need to perform 5 times a day this prayer that you're going to see on the video that I will put on Moodle. And there is another part of within the Islamic faith, which is dua, to ask God about everything that you need. Dua, that prayer, which is a non-ritualistic prayer, can be done whenever you need, and it is encouraged within the Quran to you to do so constantly. That prayer could be to thank God for the blessings that you have received, the constant to be thankful to God when you talk to God and say that you are very thankful what He have given to you, your family, your country, who you are, and your health, and so on. That could be to be thankful. In order that dua could be as well as a repentance. When you do something wrong according to your conscious, you ask forgiveness to God, a true repentance from your heart, to really feel bad about the things that you have done, that you only know that it was bad. A repentance to God, dua. All right, and supplication. And a supplication. You want something, and you have done everything that you could, and there is no other thing that you can do. And from that point and on, you ask God in order to help you, because that's a Quranic explanation of dua. Give thanks to God repentance, and supplication. All right. So yeah, for example, you did everything that you could, but there are some other things that you cannot control. For example, I don't know why. For example, there is a job that you're applying for. You have maybe even a best candidate to have that job, but there are something that happens that job is not for you. So you supplicate God according to the Quranic theology, and He will provide you whatever is best for you. Even that you could be a best candidate to have that job, you're not having it. Why? So according to the Islamic explanation, because God didn't want you to get in trouble that you don't know in this moment, but you could get in a trouble in future. So that is when a supplication takes power. So you ask God to help to help you to have the best option for you. So now I talked about the second pillar of Islam, which is prayer, salat, within two parts. One part is a ritualistic part that you're going to see on Moodle on the video. In Sunni Islam, 5 times a day. In Shia Islam, 3 times a day. That's Islamic thought. And we have the second part of the prayer, which is dua, supplication to God, repentance to God, and to be thankful to God, which is encouraged within the Quran. Now you would say, what could be a challenge to that within the Quran? Because we are discussing these topics, all these topics, with the Quranic point of view. Now, let's going to challenge the Islamic understanding of Salat with another particular Quranic verse. It is on the chapter 33 and the verse number 56. It says the next: God and His angels help and support the Prophet. O you who believe, you shall help and support him and regard him as he should be regarded. So, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. God and His angels yusalluna do salat to the Prophet. So the new movement says, that says that the Quran explains His own words within the Quran, and we do not need to go to other books to us to be explained, because there is no explanation at all within the Quran to how to perform the salat, which is translated traditionally as rituals, prayer, ritualistic prayer. So that same word, which is salat, that in the Quran constantly encourages to people to do so, perform the salah, perform the salat. What could mean salat? Perform it. It's constantly. So this movement says, hey, this word is actually, we can see this word in the chapter 33 and the verse number 56. And it says, God and His angels help and support the Prophet. So, oh, you believe, you shall help and support him. So it says, is it possible that God have His own Prophet in front of Him and performs the prayer in front of His own Prophet, like inclination, prostration, in front of his own prophet. Unacceptable. So the word salah in Arabic language, salat, is understood as a help and support. So, according to this point of view, that the word salat is to support other people, because every single time that this word appears in the Quran, it says, "O who perform the salat and give zakat, give donations to the poor." So within the context, salat can only mean support and help to others, and not ritualistic prayers. I hope that I could explain this to you. So the traditional way of understanding is performing the salat, the ritualistic prayers, and give charity to poor people can save you. So you need to perform the ritualistic prayers. But within the Quran, with a new understanding that only takes into account of this particular meaning of salat, which is help and support, which appears in the Quran, that means help and support the people in need and provide them donations. So within the new understanding of this particular verse, this new Quranic movement, they say that there is no salat such as the ritualistic prayer in Islam, and the only salat is to support the people in need. So this was the second challenge of the second pillar of Islam, which is the ritualistic prayers. Now let's move forward with our topic. All right, then you see how to perform the salah. There is an explanation in your book. Please read it. And before the salat, there is a call. There is a call that muazzin, who loudly proclaims before the salat, before the ritualistic prayer within the Islamic countries, from the mosques, to call to people to perform the salat. Then, so within the Shia, remember, Sunni and Shia, those different schools. The call to the prayer is different than the Sunni version of it. In Sunni version, they proclaim that there is no God but God, and the Muhammad is the messenger of God, right? And this is actually the Shahada, the testimony to enter to Islam, to Sunni Islam. But the Shiite version of it says there is no God but God, Muhammad is the messenger of God, and then I testify that Ali is the friend of God. Ali. So Ali was the son of Muhammad's uncle. All right? They have special attention to Ali, the Shiite Muslims, and they have another books which belong to Ali in order to understand how religion must be lived in order to be God's religion. So those books also explain the hadith books and the Quran. So now we can deduct one thing. Why there is a need to mention after God, the only God, there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger from Sunni, and Muhammad is the messenger, and the Ali is the friend of God, to give the testimony. Because there is no God but God represents the Quran. According to the Quran, there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger, represent Quran and Hadith books. In order for you to be a Muslim in Sunni Islam, remember, you must say there is no God but, and Muhammad is the messenger. You must accept the Quran and the Hadith books, the explanation of the Quran, an explanation of the teachings of Muhammad. And in Shiite version, you have there is no God but God, Muhammad is the messenger of God, and Ali is the friend of God. You must also perform your religion according to Ali. And you have a very different religion, we can say, that contradicts between them. The Quranic theology is way different than the Islamic theology or Sunni Islamic theology than the Shia Islam theology. I hope I could explain this. If I couldn't explain this division, please send me an email. All right? All right. Let's continue. There are other explanations of the Salat. Please read your book. This is important. Okay? You are responsible to read your book. There are different Salats. Every single week on Fridays you have Salat performance, like Sundays worshipping in Christian community. In the Muslim community, that Salat performance, Salat ritualistic prayer performance is on Friday. And they have a Ramadan Salat, which all the people must be together and perform that Salat according to the Islamic theology. All right, let's move towards the third pillar of Islam, which is Zakat. Zakat is mentioned in the Quran constantly when, according to the Quran, God orders people to perform the Salat. So it says, in order for you to be saved, you must perform Salat, which could be understood as help and support or ritualistic prayer. That could be a choice. So you need to perform the Salat and provide Zakat to the people in need. This is a Quranic obligation for every person to be saved in the hereafter. Okay, the Hadith books, as is indicated in your book, orders to provide every single year 2.5% of your total belongings to the people in need. 2.5% of all your income and belongings. For example, if you have cash, $50,000 cash in your bank account, and if you have a house which is valuated for, I don't know, $200,000. If you have a car, $7,000. So you calculate all the things, and then you calculate all your costs. You will need to pay a tax. You need to pay your university fees. You need to pay your food. You need to have your insurance, and so on. So you calculate them and rest that amount from what you have. You have a net amount. Let's say, for example, $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000. So if you have, for example, $100,000, you need to provide 2.5% of that amount to the people in need, which is, if it's $100,000, is $2,500. Now let's talk about the people in need. Who are the people in need? Those people that really need money, people in need. But you must start to ask to your family members first. So you must cover first your immediate family members. Okay, this is according to the Sunni theology, Sunni Islam. You must ask to your parents, brothers, cousins, and the circle that surrounds you. And then when you see that there is nobody in your immediate family members or your family members that need money, or you already provide that money and you have some rest, you go to your neighbors, your immediate neighbors or colleagues, to provide directly that money. Every single year, obligation in the Islamic faith, Sunni Islamic faith. Now, that 2.5% in Shia Islam is actually 20%. 20% of your all you have. That's in the Shia Islam. And the Shia Islam bases this percentage to Quran, because there is a particular verse in the Quran that is in your book, actually. Let me say where that is. Yeah, here, the Quran, chapter 8:41. Know that 1/5 of your battle gains belongs to God and the messenger, to those relatives and orphans, to the needy and travelers. So according to this verse, which is the only verse that gives percentage of the money to provide to people in need as zakah, according to this verse is 20%, 1/5. All right? Good. Now, before going through the fourth pillar, there is a discussion. Zakat in some countries is collected from the government. So like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. And in the past, some Islamic countries collected that money in order to provide like a tax, in order to provide to the people in need. I will post this particular issue on the discussion blog. Do you think that it must be, is it okay for to a government to collect that money, or that must be a choice of the people to who to provide this? Okay, I know that what you're gonna say, but I want you to hear from you, from your logic and explanation. All right, so let's move to the fourth pillar of Islam, which is fasting. You might ask, Professor Lopez, is there any challenge to the zakat in the Quran? No, there is no. Quran orders to perform the zakat, to give the money. There is no mention about 2.5%. There is a verse that I just read to you. It says, know that 1/5 of your battle gains, but it doesn't say anything about zakat. Battle gains. So when you're in a battle, you won your enemy, and you have gains. So that is not zakat. The Shia school interpreted this particular verse as a zakat. So maybe that would be, there is no percentage in the Quran of how much money you need to provide to the people in need. Actually, I will put that as well. Is it better to provide a percentage, or just give to the people that they decide what to give or what not to give? Which one is better in God's point of view? We are not God, but we can say something about that. Why not? That will be our second discussion topic. All right, let's move to the fourth pillar of Islam, which is fasting. You know that? So which is fasting, Saum or Siyam. So Siyam is the word Saum means something in Arabic, and Siyam is the plural form of the word Saum. Because Ramadan is performed all the people together, 1.2 billion Muslims fasting all together, because the Quran mentions that, make it together. The word Saum, which is translated as fasting, in plural form is Siyam. That's why the Quran uses the word Siyam instead of Saum. So Saum is fasting during the morning until the night. No drink, no food, no smoke, anything. You cannot eat or drink during the day. This is Islamic fasting. All right. Is there any challenging of fasting in the Quran, Dr. Lopez, Professor Lopez? Yes, there is. And let's gonna move to the chapter 19 and the verse 26. And you'll understand why I specifically mentioned the word Saum in its singular form and the word Siyam, which is the plural word. So the only time that the word Saum appears in the Quran in its singular form is here, chapter 19, verse 26. And it says, so eat and drink and be contented. And if you see from among humanity anyone, say, indeed, I have vowed to the most merciful. Now the word Saum, abstention. So I will not speak today to any man. So The word Saum here appears Saume. Let's see, it says fast. Saume. It says fast when I put here, but here they translate abstention and not fasting because it is a contradiction within the same verse that start with, so eat and drink and be contented. And if you see from among humanity, so any people say, I have vowed to the most merciful abstention. It cannot say fast because it would be so abstention. So the word Saum means actually abstention and dedication to God and God only for that day. So this is the challenge. So the word Siyam in Ramadan, which is required, can be understood not as no drink or eat food, but just to be abstented to the worldly things, no work, and just dedicate to God in community. So this is a challenge to another Islamic dogma. So we mentioned 4 Islamic dogmas: the declaration of faith, and we challenged the prayer, salat, or help and support, challenged. The third one was the zakat. We mentioned the zakat in the Quran, but we couldn't find any verse that mentions 2.5% and either 20%. That is challenged as well. The fourth one was the practice of fasting during Ramadan, and we challenged by mentioning another particular verse, which is 1926, that could understood in a different way, right? And now the 5th pillar of Islam, which is the Hajj, the pilgrimage. All right, so I will put a video of how pilgrimage is performed within Muslims, and there are some ritualistic requirements of that, and you might ask, what would be the challenge? So the challenge for Hajj is that the word Hajj, that in the regular Islam, traditional Islam, must perform once in your entire life, and it is about circulating around the Kaaba. All right, you must go there and circulate that. But according to the Quran, there is no circulation of the Kaaba, and the word Hajj derives from the word Hujjah, which means discussion. So according to the Quran, the believers all the believers that can perform this must become together once a year in order to discuss theological points of view. Discussion, hujjah, argument against, that's the word. But now in today's Islam, we have a pilgrimage to Kaaba and circulate the very Kaaba 7 times. All right, guys, this is all. I think I could cover the 5 pillars of Islam according to Islam and what could they mean as well. And I will provide other videos on Moodle. Please read your book, because you will be asked on the quiz about the things that is on video and your textbook. Be safe and see you next time.